Thank you very much, Andrea, for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Oh man, this is just such an honor. It's a long time in the making because I think
Good.
we've met a few times now, in these international streets. But yeah, we
That's
met a
right.
few
That's
times.
right.
And the last time we got to see each other in person was during the Black Set Global 5-year anniversary yacht party, right?
The yacht party and the Exodus Summit meetup in
Yes,
Lisbon.
yes, that was all in Lisbon. Yeah, Lisbon's like my next door neighbor home area.
Right. That's right. We had a blast. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was extremely special. And I'm actually, well, by the time this airs, I will be in Coimbra. So I'm leaving this Thursday to head to Coimbra for 2 weeks. And I'm hoping also to get a chance to go up to Porto. And
Okay.
yes, so I'm hoping to see you. But
Of
are you
course,
on?
you're going to be in my neighborhood.
Yes, yes, we'll be hanging out, y'all. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Exactly.
So, Andrew, where are you at right now? Are y'all in Coimbra or are you off
Yes.
in some other part? Okay,
No,
okay.
we're home in Coimbra.
Okay, Coimbra. Is it Coimbra or Coimbra?
Everybody has a different way of saying it. Coimbra is how we have been told by the Portuguese.
Okay.
Coimbra.
Well, I'm going to
Yes,
respect that. Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes.
Coimbra. Well, that's easy because I live in Zaragoza, Spain, and I try to be respectful of how the locals say Zaragoza, and
Yeah,
I is Zaragoza, but I don't know. I feel like if it's not rolling off my tongue like that and stuff, I feel like I'm being a little pretentious when I say it. So I just say it how Americans say it.
exactly, exactly. It took me a minute to, Coimbra. People always ask, how do you spell that? Especially people in the States. And so I'm constantly spelling it for them. And so, yeah.
Yeah, because when you say Queenbra, I think Queen, but when
Yes,
you yes, okay, yeah. So
yep. So when you
it's
Coimbra, it spells out the CO, Imbra.
okay. So starting out before we get started, oh yeah, I have to do all my announcements and everything. So please do. Before I get started, please do make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know whenever I have something really intelligent to share. Okay. Okay. And yeah, sometimes I go live, which I haven't done that in a while, and sometimes I just post content just because I'm getting much better at it. Okay. And
Yeah,
I'm still learning and I really do enjoy posting and sharing and talking to other wonderful women that are have ideas and plans and want to do things different also. So please and
that's
thank you.
wonderful.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, how are you locating your cozy? What have you done that's just been for you, that's brought you joy? It may have made somebody else smile, but it was really for selfish reasons. How are you locating your cozy?
Oh, locating my cozy. I would say committing to spending more time outside in the green space, especially since the Coimbra Portugal storms have passed. I've been enjoying being outside more and committed to my workout routine.
Okay.
Holidays had taken me far off track, and I'm enjoying being committed to that right now. So that's how
Okay.
I'm locating my cozy.
That's nice. That's really nice. So how am I locating my cozy? Well, this morning I got up and I went for a walk by myself. So because the weather, because of the time changes, and sometimes it doesn't like the daylight doesn't come until like 8:30 or whatever. I had not really been walking, and I just started walking with some of the group here, some of the
Mhm.
ladies here, but they're busy and not available necessarily during the week. So,
Yes,
and I was just like, well, it's still dark outside, so I'm just not gonna go. And I was like, girl, you better get up and go for a walk. Because once I start going, it feels great.
it
But
does.
yeah, I have been putting it off for a while. So I
And
did that today.
you know how bad the storms were and how long they were here in Portugal for weeks.
Yes,
So,
I
and,
heard.
and I live right by a river, so the flooding here was bad. So we wasn't walking or doing any of that outdoor stuff. So to be back outside now and the weather's beautiful and the river's gone down, that has been a joy to be out in that green space and be able to be next to the river in the park.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to that experience. Like I said,
Yes,
I've been to Lisbon several times now, which
yes,
it sounds so weird to say that, but yeah, I've been to Lisbon so many times now. But I'm looking forward to the experience in Coimbra and maybe Porto also. So I'm
yeah.
really
It's a
excited
beautiful,
about.
it's a beautiful city. You're gonna love it. I think you're
Okay.
gonna.
So how was it that, well, let me start here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know I have a ton of questions, but if you can tell us like a little about us, about you, Andrea, before we jump into the deep side.
Okay. Well, I originated from Brooklyn, New York. My mother's family is all in New York. My father's from San Antonio, Texas. So, middle school, I moved to San Antonio, Texas, and that's where I've been living until moving to Portugal a little over 3 years now. And in San Antonio, for my profession, I was in the beauty space. I was a hairstylist for 43 years and a business owner, salon and spa owner for the majority of that time. And we also offered fashion accessories for women and things. So, all things beauty was my world. And
Okay.
I did that for over 40 years before retiring at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I'm married to Jean Hayden. We've been married 27 years. I don't have any children. I had furry children, before moving to Coimbra.
Mhm.
Um, and I have a small immediate family. I just have one sister and one niece that still lives in Houston.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's just a little bit of snippet.
I have a certain fondness for Houston.
Yep.
That's my home sweet home. Yes, that's where all my family and everybody is.
Yeah,
Yes.
my husband's from also almost his whole family, besides a few members that live in different places, live in Houston. So that's when we go back to the States, we spend more time in Houston than in San Antonio where we lived.
Yep. I tried San Antonio. Okay, well, I didn't really try. A few years ago, I was dating a gentleman who was based out of San Antonio. So we would like every other weekend, one of us would I'd come to San Antonio, he would come to Houston. And after
Yes.
2 trips, I was like, I don't want to come to San Antonio. Okay, you can come to Houston if you want to, but
Yeah, you can't compare Houston and San Antonio. I used to tell people I loved San Antonio because that's where my business was, but I traveled a lot. So I always felt like San Antonio was a great place to come home to.
okay,
But as far as everything else, I absolutely love Houston.
yes,
I love Houston for
okay,
so many things, for
I
so
got
many things. Yes. But having a business there for so long and all of that and our home and everything else, it was a great place to come home to because we've always traveled a lot.
okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so after So you picked Coimbra, but were there any other countries or foreign cities that was on the possible list?
Lots. I mean, we had been dreaming of moving abroad for years. We were really close to moving to Dubai 10 years ago. I had an opportunity to join a company there in Dubai, and we went over and spent some time and interviewed and, toured the facilities and things of that nature. I'm a hairstylist by trade, but I have a specialty in trichology, which is a hair loss and scalp expert. And
Oh,
at that time, Dubai and much of the Middle East didn't have female trichologists. And they needed one because when women come into the clinics for issues with hair loss, scalp issues, blah, 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 hair in those countries is sexual. And so they really shouldn't be in private space with men showing their hair, you know? And
okay.
so they really needed to recruit female trichologists. And I was very interested because we love Dubai. But the timing wasn't right. They needed me immediately. I still own the business, like they were like wanting this thing to happen within months. And so we knew that that wasn't our timing and it wasn't God's timing either. And so we had traveled, and it was lots of places that we liked. We loved Italy. We loved Mexico. I have residency in Mexico as well. We love Mexico. It's just a ton of places. But Portugal won us over after coming here to visit. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. I know I've mentioned it a little bit on some other interviews, but my husband Gene actually has family here in Portugal.
I
So,
remember you saying that at some point on one of the other interviews that I've seen. Yeah.
so when we came to visit, we had been saying we were coming to visit Portugal for years, and just, I mean, we have been all around Portugal, and it's one of our life's biggest regrets now that we did not come sooner. But we came in 2019 prior to the pandemic, and we knew that at that point it was probably going to be Portugal. One, he has family here. Two, when we came, we literally came to Portugal just to see family. I didn't do any research. I didn't know a lot about Portugal. And then we got here and was like, what in the world is going on here? We was just blown away with the beauty of this country. We was just like, I just cannot believe we just did not come. We had been to Spain and Italy and France, and we had been traveling all around here. And so his uncle moved to Portugal over 45 years ago. He left the United States as a teenager, traveled through Mexico, through Argentina, and ended up in Portugal 45 years ago and met his Portuguese bride at Isabel.
Mhm.
And they have a daughter that's named Laura, that's 40 now. And so when we came, we were just like, and we fell in love. We fell in love, not just spending time with the family, but with the country as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, they lived in Oreias. So all that we did was like Oreias and Cascais and Sintra and Lisbon, and all of those were their areas that, what I call his stomping grounds. And
Hmm.
so that was a really big pull for us. And then getting back home and starting to deep dive into the research, it was an easy decision for us after that.
Wow. Wow.
Of course, there was other layers of things that had to convince us, because, you talked a little bit about, some health issues, so I had a lot of research. Just because they were here wasn't going to win over, the full decision. I had to do some serious research into the process and if this was going to be the right fit for me health wise.
Okay. So I wanted to go back just a little bit because you did catch my attention a little bit with the Dubai and why y'all didn't choose that place. You said it was a timing issue and also that, well, yeah, because they wanted you to like come right away and there was like certain steps and processes that were involved that they couldn't wait on.
They couldn't wait. They wanted me within, it was probably within 4 to 6 months. I had a full-fledged business that I've had for years. Like I had responsibilities,
Yeah.
and we considered it. We really considered it. We looked at all angles, but it just it just felt off. It
Okay.
just didn't feel like it had my name on it.
Yeah.
And so I settled into that, and declined the offer. And I don't regret that. I really don't. I think it
And
was
that's
the
really
right.
good. What I really like about that, or what I'm hearing from that, is that sometimes, the offers that this just sound amazing. You're like, I have to do whatever to make this happen right now.
Yes,
You can do the research and get the information and also know when to walk away.
that's right. That's right.
Yes, yes, and it's sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you're trying to, what do they call it? Make a square peg fit into a round hole, and
Yes,
you're trying. You're like, this has to work. So, and don't get me wrong, I understand that sometimes you do have to push through on some things. You do have to push through to make it happen,
you
but
do.
also just having that partnership with you and your husband to really sit down and say, what does this look like? And then to be like, this isn't the one. This
That's
isn't
right.
the place.
That's right. And it did feel like that. It was excitement, of course, but the whole square peg round, it just wasn't lining up. And I have always guided my life in a way that if it's too much friction, if it's like forcing and pulling teeth and it's not in any of the process, not flowing, I can walk away. I am the walk away queen. Okay. I'm not forcing anything. And, people who I've done business with and had relationships with in that regard, if they see this video, they'll laugh because they know I'll say, have it, you can take it, because if it's not feeling right and aligned, I don't want it. I don't want it.
So when you guys started considering, and this may not be the case, but was there one of you between you and your husband that was more like, I'm really ready, and then maybe another, the other part was just like, okay, I'm open? Was there one that was more excited than the other when discussing possible moving abroad?
Yes and no. We were both super excited. Everywhere we traveled, oh, I could live here. I could live here. Whatever. Jean, stay ready. Bag, stay packed. Okay. It was me. So we both had the same desire. The same. The problem was my fear, my hesitation regarding my health care and the transition of my health care.
Okay.
Because of the things that I have lived with for over 40 years and the experiences that I have had over that time frame, it was just nothing to play with. So we both were excited, but I was always the one, I don't know, I'm nervous, I don't know. I was the one that was kind of a little afraid to make that move, make that leap. Even though we would dream about it and talk about it and all the things, I just needed to do the research to feel secure about that transition. That was the game changer for me. So I could have loved Portugal and still walked away from it if that wasn't something that I was feeling good about in my heart, and the research and the connections that I made with the medical community here, the doctors. So I started that process way ahead of time before we moved. That transition did not happen after I landed. It happened before because I needed doctors when I landed for the types of things that I deal with. And so yeah.
I have to say, I'll never forget, because I watched you interview. I can't remember who you interviewed with. I can't remember if it was Krishan or if it was on like either Stephanie Perry or Rashida. I don't know.
And Stephanie Rashida.
Okay. But I remember you talking about how you went about, there was a service, a concierge service that you used, a medical concierge service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was just blown away because you have certain medical needs and stuff that required not to eventually find a doctor. It was like, you were like, I have to land here and have resources.
Yes, absolutely.
Girl, when I tell you that, I immediately jumped online and I was like, Spain has to have a concierge service too for, they don't.
Really?
Yeah, I was so upset.
Wow, that's disappointing.
Yes. So yeah, Spain, if you're listening, I mean, I wish I was, the person that was able to think up this great idea and also implement it. I'm
Right.
not.
Right.
There's medical staff out here, that can actually come together and create something wonderful where, people that are moving abroad, that have challenges with the maybe communicating or things like that you can help them. Because I
Yes.
needed that help.
Yes, exactly. And I'm telling you, it played a very big role with us making the decision and moving forward with the decision to move.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I was doing the research, and the thing about it is, he has family here, but they are technically Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
His uncle hadn't lived in the States at that point in 50, 60 years.
Oh, yeah.
His wife and his daughter have never lived in the States, so they don't know the process of moving abroad from the US, to Portugal or whatever. So they couldn't really help us with all of that. You know, my expectations of healthcare is different than what theirs would be here in Portugal. And
Yes.
now I am an advocate of my health, and my health is really number one. I mean, you know, the things that I have experienced in my life, I just don't, there's no room for me to play when it comes to that. And so as I was starting to research, once we locked in and said, we came back from Portugal, 6 months later, the pandemic hit. Then that changed everything, because before the pandemic started, I still had a business. I was still working. He's working, all the things. So the pandemic, like everyone else, we thought it was going to be a couple of weeks. We came home and it was all going to be good. We get to spend all this quality time together, right? And so, of course, with me being considered in the highest risk category for all of the autoimmune conditions that I carry, one being lupus.
Okay.
My medical team in San Antonio had already met with me because they were starting to hear rumblings about the pandemic. And I've been with these doctors for a very long time. And my main oncologist told me if I didn't need to work, I needed to bunker in until this thing passed. And literally said to me, you probably could not survive catching this thing that's out here because of the different things you've experienced for the length of time you've been carrying these conditions. And I took him very serious. I didn't, play around with that.
Yeah,
But
we're
with
not gonna mess around and find out. It's like find out what? It's too
I
late?
wasn't,
No.
people was, chomping at the bits for me to get back into work and back to normal, 3 months in, 6 months in. No. And so within that time at home together, because I really don't believe that we would be living in Portugal without that pandemic happening,
Okay.
because it gave us time to completely slow down. We lived busy lives, and it gave us a time to really start peeling layers back about whether this is a dream or is this really something that can become a reality. And then once we started, not in the beginning because everybody was running scared, all the craziness. But as I started to realize that 6 months in, well, it wasn't 6 months, the pandemic, March, probably like about May, June, when I had not gone back to work, I had to start thinking about whether I'm ready to retire.
Okay.
And then from there, once we made that decision, which was not an easy decision, then you realize that I'm untethered for the first time in my life because I've owned a business for years. And that then led way to me really starting to get serious about, when this thing is over with, maybe it's a
What does that look
possibility
like?
to do
Yeah.
this. And I had time to do the deep research that I needed. If I had been working, I would have never been able to research to the level that I would have been comfortable.
That part right there, it's like when we're in the thick of it, when we're
Mhm.
like, living our daily lives and used to working nonstop pretty
Yes,
much, and
yes.
not realizing you don't really have time to think sometimes and possibly dream bigger.
You're not dreaming. And
Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about that. It's like the thing, people are always like, what is life like now? Blah, blah, blah. You're not working this and that, because people knew me as working, the business owner, chamber, like I was busy, I was involved, doing lots of things. And the one thing that you are able to do now is you're able to dream, not right away, not right away getting here or making that decision. But once I stopped working and some months in and still sheltered in place for quite a long time, we were able together to start picking apart the details of it. Where the fears were, what would keep this from happening, and just looking at all the things, the financials, the this, the that. Would we keep everything? Will we sell everything? The blessing is Gene and I were on the same page with regards to all of that. Oh no, we selling this. I'm not dealing with all this. I'm not dealing with the house. We got land. I'm not keeping that. We were both on the same page in that regards. I'm not shipping furniture.
Mhm.
All the things we lined up with that. And he's been with me long enough to know how important the healthcare was. So he was on board with that. And I needed to do the research. I'm like, you keep working, I'll do the research because I needed to feel comfortable in my heart and in my gut that this is the right move for me. To let go of the dream team that I had developed and put together in the States to help me manage my care, because it's not just the doctors, it's the physiotherapists, it's my medical massage, all these things keep me
Mhm.
going. And so to let go of all of this well-oiled machine, I definitely needed to feel comfortable.
And
Uh,
that has to be so. Two things I just wanted to just put out there. One is single black chick ain't ever been married. I moved out here by myself. I got family. I got my daughter here and everything and stuff. But I still advise, talk to some other people that are looking at moving abroad, maybe moving to Spain or moving abroad, period. And if they have significant others, I do stress to them, make sure that this is not a one-sided goal, that there is communication like never before to make sure that if you're bringing your if you're relocating with your spouse, significant other, and kids, don't keep them in the dark about your goals, your dreams, and your fears. You got to talk all that out.
oh,
Okay,
you better. You
you got to
better.
utilize that relationship to help balance and be there to support. As they support you, you support them too.
Yes, because it's going to evolve. You're not just going to land here and everything is just wonderful. It took me longer, but Gene had a military career. He lived abroad before, all the things. So those things was no big deal for him. But for me getting here, it was an instant settling in. There was layers, you know, to the process for me to feel comfortable, to feel like my feet was on the ground. So I needed him to be more supportive in the beginning, arriving here. But during the process back in the States, I was leading the front as far as putting all the research in and orchestrating everything and getting the house ready and all these things. And I would just constantly be in conversation with him. I mean, we probably had some of the best talks of our marriage during that time,
Wow.
and it really brought us together because we just had nothing but time to talk. I agree with you wholeheartedly. For couples,
Hmm.
they need to be on the same page. I will tell you, there will never be a time that I will hype up this move to, because we have plenty of friends that's reaching out to us and have been since we've been here, but now people are really
Yeah.
interested in this process, right?
Yes.
And so, but I'm not one to hype up this move because it is major and everybody needs to be on the same page. I
Yes.
mean, I cannot stress that enough. So I agree with you on that. Couples need to be on the same page because you are who you are wherever you go. So, Gene in the interview with Exodus Summit, he said to them, not only do you need to love your spouse, you need to like your spouse.
Yes.
You saw some of that in the pandemic where people was in the house together and realized they didn't like each other. They were
Hmm.
married, they loved each
They were
other,
tolerating each other.
tolerating each other. Well, take that feeling in the pandemic times 100 when you do a move like this. To me, that's
Yes.
my personal opinion. And so you do need to, be honest with each other and the family, kids, whatever it is, that you're dealing with. But for us, we were really blessed because we both had the desire to move abroad. We both love traveling. We both love experiencing the world. And so that was nothing that either one of us needed to be convinced about.
Okay.
Um,
So there's so many parts and facets here I want to
I
jump in
know,
with.
I
I'm like, ooh.
know.
Okay. Getting everything set up, getting connected with doctors and hospital facilities and all that in Portugal. And just if I'm not if I'm mistaken, let me know. That's one of the reasons why you did pick specifically Coimbra, because they have the medical schools and hospitals and great resources there.
Yes. So once I was connected to the medical concierge, I had been told about the company, did the research. I was like, okay, this sounds like something that I need. Right away, I wanted to talk to the CEO. I'm telling you, when it comes to my health, I'm kind of crazy. Like, I need to know this is a real deal. Because sometimes, the staff is great with this company, but I needed to know the inner workings of how all this, I'm coming to a foreign country. It's like I need
Mhm.
to know how this all works. And he was wonderful. He talked to me, he was very honest about the questions that I had. And the thing that made us pick Coimbra, Coimbra was not on the list at all. When we came to scout, because we came back to Portugal after that first visit in 2019,
Mhm.
we came back to scout for some weeks. We came through Coimbra. They drove us through Coimbra, but it was not on the radar at all. But neither was Lisbon or Porto. I didn't want to live in the city like that. Like
Okay.
I've been living in San Antonio. I don't want to see city every day like that. I like going to Portugal and I mean I like going to Lisbon and Porto. But I knew I needed something else, but Coimbra wasn't it. It just wasn't on my radar. So after
I'm
talking to my
smiling just because if anybody knows, I'm having deja vu because Zaragoza was not on my list.
yes, it
Zaragoza
was
was like,
not.
I'm happy to see my family, but Zaragoza was like, no.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's cute, but it's like it's not even on the radar. When we drove through, I was just like, okay, next city. We was on a tour of all these different cities. And so once I talked to Michael, and I would also put a pin in it right there and say to anybody that's listening, don't get married to any one location because you just really don't know. Even if you land in a place to start, you don't have to be married and anchored to that one place, that
Yeah,
one city.
you can stay there and date and move in with your city or country for a little while and stuff before you say I want to marry you. Yeah, you forever.
Exactly. Exactly. So, okay. So I had this, multiple long conversations with, his name is Michael, the CEO of the company. And I said to him, I said, what I need to be comfortable, I need to be in a city that has a major respected trauma hospital within 15 minutes of where I live. That's what I needed to be comfortable. I need a major trauma hospital that has a amazing reputation, and I need it to be close, 15 to 20 minutes max to where I live. For me to release my Linus blanket in the States, I need that. I may not always need it, but I need that to come to Portugal,
Yes, to have a certain amount of peace upon arrival.
period.
Okay.
And so he said to me, that's real easy. You got three choices. He said, you got Lisbon, Porto, and Coimbra. Well, I had already told you I didn't want to live in Porto or Lisbon. So Coimbra is where we landed. Of course, I started looking into Coimbra a little bit more and, where I wanted to live. And this is a small country. It didn't matter to me that I wasn't going to be, I'm an hour train ride from Porto. You can get anywhere you want to go in a short period of time.
Yeah.
I need my home base to be what I need it to be. I need my medical care to be what it needs. That took precedence over anything else.
Okay.
All of
Yeah.
the country is beautiful. And so once he said that, we knew it had to be Coimbra to start. Now I've been here 3 years. Would I feel like I could navigate anywhere? Probably, but I've fallen in love with Coimbra. So it's 3 years later and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was blessed to be able to get a 5-year residency here in Spain, and I'm so thankful. And people have asked, they're like, so where are you going to move next? I'm like, well, I'm not bopping,
Right. Yeah.
bopping.
Now
You
we're not
know, I,
people.
I want to be able to have the option to go maybe and visit. But for
Yes.
me, God willing, unless they, drag me out of here kicking and screaming, is it. This,
Yes.
this is it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
we love Coimbra. We love Portugal. Of course, we got the family situation that also is a huge perk, you know.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's home for us. Like we're definitely not bop around. We can't. Like
Yeah.
that's not the life for us. But we do like to travel. But we like to come home and have a comfortable home to come back to.
Yeah.
And so it's taken me several years to get all the nuts and bolts well oiled here in Coimbra in Portugal with all the things.
Mhm.
But I'm happy to say that we have replicated, you know, my comfort level of medical care. I have some amazing doctors, lots of different specialists, because I have 5 autoimmune conditions from lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm going to tell you because this may help somebody that's listening.
Yes, and I appreciate you sharing. I don't push. You share what you want,
Oh, no.
but yes, I appreciate you sharing.
I'm an open book as far as that because I know how my stories in the past, in my past life, has helped many people.
Okay.
So I have lupus. I have systemic lupus. So you have 2 different types of lupus, the skin type and the type that attacks your organs and things of that nature. So I have the systemic lupus. I have rheumatoid arthritis, both of those 44 years. I have Graves' disease, which is a thyroid condition. I have a condition called antiphospholipid syndrome, which is a very scary kind of, you know, lots of people don't survive that because it comes on, you know, unknowingly. And it's a blood clot condition. Your body just starts randomly producing blood clots anywhere in your body.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and that's probably, you know, lupus is scary enough, but that condition really is, you know, you have to be really careful. And then I have a condition called Raynaud's. And so,
That.
yeah, Raynaud's is a condition where you need to avoid extreme temperatures. Like I remember in San Antonio, it used to be really hot. You already know in Texas, it's really hot in the
I don't know
summertime.
about that world.
Right.
Okay, I'm just playing.
Don't know about that life. And so one of the things about extreme temperatures is like I could come in from outside in the dead of the summer in Texas, walk into the freezer section in the grocery store, and my fingers start to turn white because I start to lose blood flow. So those extreme temperature changes, just walking from outside into the freezer section in the grocery store would trigger it, you know.
Okay.
And so I have to be careful of those type of temperature changes. I need to be well prepared. Like if we're traveling somewhere, last year we went to Iceland and Norway and all this kind of stuff. So I had to be very prepared for that because, you know, fingertips turn white, the next they turn blue, and you know what comes after that. So it's a very
Right. Going
serious
through.
condition.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so you have to manage it. I can actually feel it coming on. Some people have it in their feet and their hands. I just have it in my hands.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, this is really wow. Just really insightful. And again, this is why I like to talk to no matter where you are, if it's just still a pipe dream that you're like, I want to do this, you know,
yeah,
move abroad wherever in the world, or if you've been abroad for 15 years, I like to talk to people in different scenarios, women in different scenarios to know that hopefully there's going to be someone that sees you, you know, one of the women that I'm interviewing and being like, I relate. I that is my life. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yes. So I want to share that.
I think it's really important, and it's one of the reasons why I'm getting myself together to start to share my story a little bit more, because people do need to know. There's a lot of people living with these types of conditions in that autoimmune chronic illness spectrum of things,
Hmm.
and they are at home in the States or wherever they are, thinking that this opportunity is not for them
Yes.
because I thought it too for a very long time. And so I know it's my responsibility to get out and to talk about this more in a way that they can relate, you know, that they know and can see themselves in my story and know that it's possible for them to move abroad, live abroad. I won't speak to bopping around because that's not my life, but you definitely can make a move abroad safely and responsibly and be able to transition your healthcare. Now, of course, it depends on the condition. I mean, I've done the research. It's like it depends on what parts of the world you're looking at, and things of lots of things, lots of moving parts for people that might be listening. But it is possible, and I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything with my health care. Because if I was, I didn't have to do it. Like
Yeah.
I come here for cheaper health care. We already had an amazing situation with our health care. He worked for a Fortune 200 company. He had benefits from his other retirement, so
Yeah.
my health care was straight. So to come here and to exchange what I had for what I'm doing now, it had to be to a standard that I'm really comfortable, like really comfortable.
So now I know, like, I don't know what it was like 3 years ago, but a lot of people are like, oh, the healthcare system in other countries is really great. And for me, I can't say that it's great compared to the US. The health coverage is great. But I also know that they're more sticklers. Like right now, and I'm always transparent. For me, one thing that I'm transparent about is I'm a 57-year-old Black woman, and I had like maybe I had high blood pressure, and I had some knee surgeries and everything. And so, but they said when I started shopping for insurance, they were like, they're not going to cover you for this. Like if you have a heart attack in the next year, they're not going to cover you.
Yes.
So yeah, but they were like, but you can still go to the public hospital and you'll be fine, but your private insurance won't and everything. So I was like, okay. So, but I understand now that they're being more diligent as far as pre-existing conditions. So I guess my question for you is, did you have any problems getting healthcare because of your pre-existing conditions in
Yes,
Portugal?
yes, that's a really good question. I'm glad you kind of circled back to that because this is important. For me to get immediate coverage of all of my pre-existings, I had to present 40 years of proof of coverage of insurance. In the time, wait a minute. Yeah.
Years.
From the time that I was diagnosed with the first condition, from that point, I had to prove that I had been insured the entire time from that first diagnosis to be covered immediately. Okay.
Okay.
So thank God I was able to produce that volume of proof to be able to be covered immediately. Now,
You are some kind of special organized if you can go back and get documentation 40 years back. What
40
the hell?
years. And they said it like it was nothing. Yeah,
I'm sure they were like, I bet you won't. You were like, I bet you I will. Okay.
exactly. Exactly. We were able to produce 40 years of proof that I have been insured throughout that entire time. Okay. Now, if I couldn't produce that, it wouldn't have been horrible because the cost factor, as you said,
Mhm.
is much lower here in Portugal to pay out of pocket. You would have had a year waiting period.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what most people who cannot provide the full proof of insurance coverage for all the years that they've had the diagnosis, you have to wait a year to get that pre-existing or those pre-existing conditions covered.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been that bad because you can technically really afford to pay out of pocket for most people. Now, I mean, that's outside of even a crisis. Now, I talked to Michael about the CEO about all of this. And he assured me, even when I was selecting the insurance coverage that I wanted, and I'm like, okay, I want the big plan, just the paranoia of just
Yeah,
wanting,
the all-inclusive
yeah,
premium.
I
Yep.
want it all, right?
Let's
And
go. Yep.
he kept saying, even if you have, and he just named out worst case scenario, you wouldn't need this volume of coverage. He kept steering me in the direction, to make me feel comfortable what it was that I needed. And so when I think about people that can't prove their coverage
Mhm.
for all the years, waiting a year is not going to bankrupt people.
Exactly.
Even if
Exactly.
you have a serious condition that happens, it's not going to bankrupt you.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I
So,
remember right before, I think up to a year before I left, I started doing contract consulting. So I ended up getting, like the affordable care thing. And they were like, well, the best plan that we can offer you, and, just like, we got you. So you don't have to pay nothing monthly, but if you get sick, you just got to pay $10,000 out of pocket. And the way they say it
mhm.
is so nonchalant.
Yes, yes,
Like it's the best deal. So that way you're not paying, $300 to $700 a month. But if you get sick, you have to pay $10,000, and then you're
right.
good to go. And okay.
Yes,
It's just like when you go, like I know there's been many people that can relate to this. In the US, you have an emergency, you have to go to the hospital. It's like life and death. And you
yes,
go, and and then when you go to check out or whatever stuff, and they're like, oh, and to have that job where you have to so straight face say, so your total to beat today will be $25,233.50. How do you want to pay that? And say that
right.
with a straight face.
With the straightness. Yes, yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
then, and what's funny is you'll be like, how can I pay that off? It's like, I'm alive right now.
exactly.
I guess I got it. So I am thankful that for me, right now, yeah, like I said, 57-year-old Black woman, my premium with no copays and no deductibles is roughly €1,300 a year.
Okay. And I'm
And
60, and I'm 60, and
mhm,
I have, these pre-existing conditions. And there was a company and a plan that worked for me. So, the message is there is something for everybody. And I'm not going to say you're just going to walk over here and it's just going to be laid out on a platter. You have to do your research. You need to team up with people that can help you, especially I'm talking to people who have pre-existing conditions and chronic conditions. That's who I'm talking to. You need the guidance, to make sure that you dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and creating that transition of care prior to coming here or anywhere. I would
yeah.
recommend that for moving anywhere.
Did you seek legal counsel when you were going through when you guys were going through the process of getting your residencies and all that? Did you guys
Use
get
the
in a Portuguese
relocation
attorney?
special. We use the relocation specialist for the whole,
The whole thing.
the
Okay.
whole thing. Yeah, I'm not doing this stuff by myself. It's too serious. It's too many moving parts. I know a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
That's
That's not
wonderful.
my mission.
It's not my mission. It's too much. Like liquidating my life in the States and then trying to hope and pray I got this part right. And no, 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 no. I believe in hiring people that are experts in these areas so it can help my transition be smoother. So we
Yes.
hired a wonderful relocation specialist that has a team of lawyers and this and that and all the things. Okay, real estate if you need help with that, and all the things. And so between her and between the concierge company and things, we made all the pieces fit. But we
That's
got help the whole way. And I still use her. We're here 3 years and she just helped me with our renewal of our residency for
mhm.
another 3 years, you know?
Yes, and yeah, there's people that have done it. I've known, just like everybody knows here in Spain and stuff. Carlos is my Spanish attorney that I will call like night or day and stuff, and just be like, "Hey, Carlos, I need your insight." I didn't have a Spanish. I didn't. Excuse me. I didn't have a return attorney on retainer in the States, but here,
Yes, yes. So we have people that we keep on retainer here, and it's the cost of what I used to say the cost of doing business in the States.
Mhm.
It's just the cost of moving abroad. But my level of peace that I need may be different from other people. We know people that didn't use a relocation specialist that worked for them. It wouldn't
Yeah,
work for me. It
Yeah.
just wouldn't. I just knew we needed to budget for these things because I needed to also mitigate my stress level because
Yeah.
stress and lupus don't mix. And so it was already stressful, making this move and doing all the things and liquidating and all the things. So I needed to mitigate some of the other things. I can't have, it hitting me at all angles. And so that's one thing, being living with this stuff for so long, I know what works for me and what don't. And that level of crushing stress from both ends, it just wasn't going to work. So a relocation specialist for us was the only way to go, like the absolute only way.
Yes, and yeah, it just made, I just went through the attorney here, and then I also, of course, found community, got online, found groups. What was that process like for you as far as, was it finding community? I know you had family here, but
Yes.
what was it finding community? What was that process like?
So when we came, before we came, during the research process, I found Stephanie and Rashida first.
Yeah.
And I found my relocation. Now this was like 2020, 2021. They was just kind of kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
But by finding them, that's how I found my relocation specialist because they had interviewed her on their channel. So I kept that information, and when we started getting really serious about it, I reached out to her and it was a really good fit. You could just feel the energy was clicking. So community building started with the Exodus Summit,
Okay.
the Rashida and Stephanie. And then from there, I didn't find Black in Portugal until later. So I can't say that I had a lot of community on the ground or anything
When you
like that.
got, when you arrived, okay.
No, I had met Bridget
Okay.
online. So we kind of, held each other's hand through about the last 6 months of the process before moving. Um, and so I had met her, and then I met another young lady that happened to be moving. Her and her husband happened to be moving to Coimbra. And so I saw that they were shipping furniture and stuff. She was on Black in Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
and they were bringing over like a 40-foot container of things. And so at the last minute, we had not planned to ship anything like that. Now, trust me, I looked like coming to America when we showed up at the airport. I did look like, you should have saw the people looking at us. And so I was like coming to America with them bags, but we had not planned on shipping furniture and things of that
Yeah.
nature. But at the very, very last minute, we decided to ship a car. We
Oh.
decided to ship one of our cars. When we started, and I'm talking last minute, I'm talking like 3 weeks before we were moving. And so I saw this young lady
Please do
online.
share. Yeah.
Right. I saw her online. I had already seen her a couple of times saying they were coming to Coimbra, and I kept telling my husband, oh, we got to meet them, whatever. And they were coming from Atlanta. And so I reached out to her in the DMs and I was like, hey, we're moving to Coimbra too. I saw that you are moving a 40-foot container over. Does that company ship cars? And she was like, yes, they're wonderful. Ask for the owner, blah, blah, blah. She gave me the name. And that contact, that community building, as you're talking about, is what allowed us to ship our car because we made the decision so late that
Mm-hmm.
if I had not felt comfortable to reach out to her for her experience, we would have just said, because
Yes.
decision fatigue had already set in. Like,
Girl.
by the
3 weeks before? Yeah.
time you move, you can't make another decision about nothing, right? And so if it wasn't for her telling me that they had this amazing experience, and yes, they ship cars, gave me the contact person's name. I got on the phone with him. He validated that the fact that we had the perfect car to do this. It wouldn't be a hassle because we had already owned a Fiat. Our little
Oh,
runaround
because
car
they
with
have
the
smaller cars here. You wouldn't have gotten, you don't bring a Hummer to Portugal or
no,
Spain.
no,
You
no.
don't do
We had
that.
to sell all the big cars, but the Fiat that we had, he was like, "Oh, Fiat is, this is here in Europe,
Yeah.
And he was like, "You have the perfect car to send. You have very little modification." He could tell me everything we would have to do once it got here. We had one thing to modify on the car. So he
Okay.
told us it will be no problem to ship it. And I said, well, the problem is we leave in 3 weeks, like tickets ready to go, house sold, everything. We in a hotel already. And he was like, that's fine. Just leave the car with a neighbor and my people will be down and pick it up. And that's what happened. They came down from New Jersey and put that car up on the rack and shipped it over. It took 2 months to get here. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want a car," all those things. And I thought that at first too. For the whole time, it took us about 18 months of releasing our life back in the
Hmm.
States. Okay. I thought that too. But I can honestly say, because you romanticize that life, the carless life, the European
Yeah.
life, things of, but what
I ain't gonna,
it is,
I was like,
it
I
is.
left that horrible, no good car.
But I have to say this, and bringing a car is not for everybody, not
Yeah.
even for most people, is it needed. But we had a Fiat, and really, when I think now about, I don't have the reality that I can just walk and walk and walk. Having the rheumatoid and things of that nature, I have joint damage. So I had to think about that kind of stuff. And it
Yeah.
wasn't really until the end that I kind of was like, you know what? Do you think we should maybe keep this car and ship it? We had already committed to sell it to CarMax.
Hmm.
And then when he said that, and then once the car got here, it has been a blessing. Now we don't drive it all the time. We walk, we take the train to Lisbon and all, all the things.
Yeah.
We love it. We love the train. Love it. We love the train.
Yep.
But having that car has been a blessing. We have a parking garage, with our building and everything. So it was the right move for us. It was a paid for car. It wasn't really expensive to us to ship it here. It took 2 months. We didn't care. We wasn't even planning on bringing it. And so
See you
it,
when I
it
see
worked
you.
exactly. So it worked out. Now, when you go into some groups, you hear a lot of horror stories about the car thing.
Yeah.
I can't speak on that. I can speak on shipping a Fiat over here.
Yes.
That's all I can speak about. And it was seamless. The company that I use in the States has a division in Portugal. So once it came through, they handled everything through custom. They handled the license plate, they handled everything. And then they brought the car to our house.
Wow. Okay. And the same thing you were talking about how when you arrived, you said you look like the scene from Coming to America. So what I did was because again, I was party of one coming. And so
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, I have all these bags. I need to get over here. And of course, I
Yes.
still had sold everything, but still I had things that I was bringing, just,
Yeah.
and I'm like, how am I going to manage this of getting, party of one coming from the airport to the train station in Madrid and then taking the train to Zaragoza. And I was like, well, my daughter can come and meet me in Madrid. And it was just all this, and it was stressing me out. And I had heard about somebody saying, you send my bag, just you send my bag. And I started researching. I thought it was a scam because the pricing it wasn't FedEx pricing or DHL
Yes.
pricing, but
Yes.
because they had contracts with it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
told to send my 3 big bags, duffel bags and everything from the States that had maybe some of my wigs, some of my, my rain boots, some
Yes.
random things that I was like, I have to bring. I brought my scale. Yes, I know they got scales here. I brought my
Yes.
scale because only that scale tells me the truth.
Yes.
Okay. So
That's right.
but they had my stuff. I had my stuff within 2 weeks, and the customer service was wonderful. And I was just in shock.
Wow.
So I didn't have to, even though I ended up paying extra for the ticket because I had already gotten my ticket to come here. So that included like the extra luggage.
Yes.
And I didn't. It was like it was shipped to me they picked it up at where I was staying at and they delivered it to my daughter's home.
Oh, that's
Like they
wonderful.
knocked on the doors, like we're here, and the customs was an additional. I think for the 3 bags, it was an additional like 60 something dollars, 60 something
Yeah,
euro.
yeah,
Because I was freaked out because I thought it was going to be like hundreds of euro, and
yeah.
like
See,
no.
when you ship, okay, so another couple that was very helpful to us in building community and with information was Rick and Halisi with Our Black Utopia.
I
So
see
we,
them saying Juneteenth is coming up. Okay.
exactly. So we reached out to them, and it was funny because it was during the time that our house was on the market. I heard their interview, and they gave us the idea to. We knew we were coming to Portugal, but we was like, oh, people are getting multiple residencies. Why not? We love Mexico. We heard that they had obtained, permanent residency in Mexico as well as Portugal. So we was like, I'm going to schedule a consultation. I want to get to know what's up with this. And it was because of them that we went ahead and pursued the Mexico residency. It's like, do we plan on living in Mexico? I don't know, but we have it. You know,
You got options. You have
you have
options.
options, and
Yes.
now more than any, we are so thankful to have those options. And so we reached out and we had a consultation with them, and of course we've gotten to know them now. We consider them our dear friends now, and so that community aspect of what people who may be watching your show right now and they see it, it is real. It
Yes.
is real. I mean, when we got to Coimbra, it wasn't a lot of expat community. It wasn't a lot of African American expat community, but that has changed. I mean, now when people are coming, like friends of ours just moved from Atlanta. They're not
Mhm.
living in this city, but I tell them all the time, y'all are so lucky. We done already done all this. I can tell you this. You ain't even.
Mhm.
And when the wife is stressing, I'm like, girl, let me tell you, don't even be stressing because this, and like it's so much easier now because so many of us are out here.
Yes.
But the
It's
community,
so funny because people like being here in Zaragoza, and whenever I do, whether I'm being interviewed on somebody's channel or if I'm just speaking, they're always asking, "What about the Black community? What is the Black community like in Zaragoza?" It's like, well, if you,
yes,
what is it I always say? If you build it, they will come. And the community here in Zaragoza is growing. It is
yes,
really growing. I actually had a consultation with. I've had this happen like a couple of times now, but I had a consultation recently, and the lady said, I said, well, what parts of Spain are you looking at considering
yes,
stuff? And she was like, Zaragoza. And I was like, oh, but where else? She's like, Zaragoza. She's like, I saw you and your
right,
daughter. You did an interview, Zaragoza. That's it. I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. Oh,
yes, yes. And it's funny because it's amazing to see how many people have reached out to me because of the interviews that they've seen who
hmm
have lupus and different things who have now come here to scout and are planning on moving and have selected Coimbra because of the stories that I have told in the past.
beautiful. That is just
And
so.
so yeah, so the community aspect, it's so weird because, all of us had established friendships and stuff in the States and knew lots of people, but the community and the relationship building is different. And I don't know if it's because all of us are like-minded with this move abroad decision.
Intentional.
Yeah,
It's very intentional. And if I hear somebody speaking English now, like you're not meant to stay connected with everybody. I
yes,
do know this, but
that's right. That's right. That's
but it
right.
is intentional as far as if I know that you're coming, if I know that you're someone, that is, well, like I created Black in Zaragoza, and that is not just for Black Americans, it's for Black people finding a way to connect and feel supported,
That's right.
no matter what. But the intention is to build a welcoming community, just to
Yes,
let them know, like, I'm not paying your bills, nothing like that, but I will
right.
be a great resource
That's
for
right.
information. Because I've
That's right.
already, like you've already laid out some of the steps. It's like, girl, I got you. I know what you need, and
Yes.
that's what's happening here in Zaragoza. Whether I'm in Zaragoza or meeting them somewhere in Spain, I want you to feel
Exactly.
welcome, and I want to refer you to, if you're not moving to Zaragoza or my area, I want to be able to refer you to a community where you can get in contact, be connected, and feel
Exactly.
supported.
Exactly. And I feel really good about that. Like I said, it wasn't a lot on the ground here in Coimbra, but that has changed. And we're like interconnected with lots of people in lots of cities throughout Portugal now. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it's a must have. It's a must have. Don't come and isolate, because that's not, to me, a good way to approach this move abroad. But the community is there and the information is there. And, they have some other groups ran by Live Out Loud and Freedom in Lisbon that's
Hmm.
very helpful. It's just a lot of information that's being shared and things. So you do not have to figure all this stuff out on your own.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You do not.
You
Um, but just understand. Now, I always like to start with this caveat, though. Okay, please don't come into the community and come with your list of 50 questions and be like, "Nah, just answer all that."
Wait a minute.
You will be
I'm not even
ignored.
going to tell you about an experience that I had not too long ago. Just being nice and offering up a lot of information. And then, next thing I knew, I had been emailed almost a list of about 50 questions. I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Let me refer you to some of the relocation people like yourself that moved abroad, like the young lady that told me about the car company. She
Yes.
now does real estate here in Portugal, in Coimbra, and she does some relocation services and stuff. So I'm like, let me connect you with those people. Like,
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and answer 50 questions on an email. I'm
Yeah.
not doing
We
that.
want to support you and we don't want you to
Yeah,
reinvent the wheel, but also please know, I don't have time to you still have to do your research. You still have to develop and get your own information unless you are specifically paying a relocation service or an advisor service. You
that's
still
right.
and even with that, you still have work that you have to do. You still
You
have
do.
when I
You
am
do.
advising and talking, I'm sorry, just when I'm advising and talking with clients about moving, they have their homework assignment.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, I like that. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
So you're
like that
still
a
being
lot.
held accountable for what you need to do for this to make this as positive a transition as possible.
That's
Yeah,
right.
because I'm not
Because
gonna be lifting all my fingers for you.
it's best to do things accordingly on the front end, because you still have things to do once you get here. It's not land and it's vacation. You still have things to do to create your life. You still have requirements and things, and all the things. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I wasn't doing the 50 question thing, but I can refer you to somebody that this is what they do. This is their business. This is what they do. And that's
mhm,
who you need to be with. I make lots of referrals to lots of people, because I've had really, really positive experiences with these people.
yeah.
I was a resource machine back in the States, and I'm not going to refer you to somebody that I don't trust, that I haven't
Yes,
experienced. And so,
exactly. And
yeah,
and these professionals, they know what they're talking about. I've had, again, my wonderful attorney Carlos. I've referred people to him all the time because I cannot give you any kind of legal advice. I'm not the
that's
one.
right.
But he'll lay out what their options are based on the information that they're giving him. And
That's
they'll be
right.
like, "Well, no, I don't want to do that." Well, you have three options. Which one do you want? Well, I don't want to do any of those. Okay, I guess you don't want to come to Spain then.
Right. Right. We just don't get to make up the rules. You come into another
Yeah. What's
country
your
and they
next
have
country
a process.
then?
You they
Okay.
have a process. You see how hard it is for people to move to the United States. I mean, and this is not in comparison, but they have their own rules here,
Yes.
and it's okay.
We're not gonna break the
You
law
know,
for you. And the attorney, the Spanish attorney, definitely is not. The relocation advisor is not going to break the law because you don't like the answer.
that's
Okay.
right. That's right. And so, if everybody's coming here with the right intentions, it is very doable, and it's amazing life. We're very thankful to be here. I finally feel like I really live here, like I can fully breathe. And I'm not gonna lie, like Gene, my husband landed here and was fine that same week. I'm telling you, you met him, he
Yeah.
don't let nothing worry him. But for me, it took me about a year and a half to feel like I could feel my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But I'm a different personality. I'm a type A personality, and like I need things to be in place so that I can just relax. And so, but now I feel like my feet are on the ground. I can live here and fully enjoy everything about this move abroad. Yeah.
It's just the biggest wonderful. Oh, this has been so wonderful. Oh my goodness. I could ask you 15 million more questions,
Wait
but
a
I
minute,
feel
we don't
like,
have to do a part two. We don't have to
yes,
do
because I'm
a
just like,
part
this
two
is
because I still
really
have some more time
great.
to share. But
It's
we'll have to do this again. I mean, because I know I can
just
talk
very
a lot.
insightful. Yeah, I need to do like some kind of like wrap up at the end of the year or something like that. But yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
Me
And
too. Me too.
just yeah, keep moving. Andrea, do you have any social media that you're going to be sending me and stuff that I will be putting in the description below? How would
I
you like people to connect
I
with you?
will. I will for sure because I am going to be rolling out some things. I am going to start a YouTube channel so that I could share this information for people
Yes.
and let them know that it's possible. And like I tell my husband, I'm like, this is a path to aging well. I'm
Mm.
60 and this move abroad has really helped me, not only um, in having a better quality of life and embracing ease more, but my health has gotten so much better.
Mm,
And we
yes.
ain't even talk about that. That is for part two. How
So
I've been
yeah,
able
she
to,
said it. Y'all heard her. Part two is coming. Yes. Don't
how,
know when, but part two is coming.
how I've
Okay.
been able to come off of medications and things, and now how it's difficult for me to go back to the States to visit because my body has detoxed the chemicals from the food in the States. And because I'm autoimmune and chronic illness, now that the detox has happened, my body totally rejects the food in the United States. And I'm
Wow.
going to say this before we go. I've been back to the States 4 times, and 4 times I've been taken to the ER
Oh,
because of the reaction that I've had with the food when I go back. And I'm not talking fast food, I'm talking grocery store food, restaurant food, you name it.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, we definitely have to have
yeah,
a part two and stuff because I feel I I'll say this that for me, I just know that whenever I would come back from visiting Spain before I actually moved here, it was like whenever I was landing, as the plane was landing, I can feel the PTSD stress just coming
yes,
up on my body.
that
It was
too.
like, you're
That
back
part,
here.
that
Yeah.
part, that part.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really weird that when you go and you're driving around and it's like, I didn't know what to expect the first time, and it like you don't know if you're going to feel attached to it or whatever. And I'm not talking family; that's
Yeah,
totally
that's
different, whatever. I didn't feel any of the attachment. I really didn't. That was surprising. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't feel the attachment. And each time we're always ready to come back. We'll be like, hey,
like
I'm
a
ready to go. I'm ready. Not that we don't love everybody, but I'm ready to go
yeah.
back home. Like this is home now.
Yep, exactly.
And so, yeah, I have some interesting stories about how cleaner eating has benefited me greatly, how it's helped me to navigate coming off of some medications that I never thought that I would be able to come off, and things of that nature. And that's not a quick story, so I don't even want to open it up,
It's
but
okay. It's
we
okay.
can,
We
yeah,
go
we can do a if your audience wants it, they can tell you in the comments if they want to hear more about that, and we can do it. We can do a part two.
where the comments at. Comments. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Andrea. This has just been
So,
wonderful. Please do make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know whenever I have something insightful to say. I'm interviewing some wonderful Black women. Please do make sure that you sign up. Also, there's links in the comments as far as how to connect with me. If you are a solo female that really wants to travel to Spain, but you're still waiting on your boyfriend, cousin, sister, mama, auntie, somebody, your bestie to come with you, and you just feel like you just can't do it alone, you might need the Travel Buddy Concierge Service experience. That would be moi, because you need to feel empowered and you don't have to do it alone and waiting on somebody to approve it. Okay. Anyway, so you can connect with me. All the links are in the comments below. And thank you so much for joining, and y'all take care.